right away talking about rhetorical analysis, what it is, and how we can talk about it in terms of speeches. So first off, what is a rhetorical analysis? Well, rhetorical analysis is an analysis of rhetoric, of language, determining what the author is doing, why they are doing it, and how they are doing it. Essentially, how are they saying the words that they're saying, and how does that make that special or different? So there's really three elements we want to look at. We want to look at the what, the why, and the how. Now, the what's the easiest. It's, are they, appealing to emotions? Are they using logic? What are they doing? Okay, that's all fair and fun, but the why and the how, that's where it gets more difficult, and that's what we're going to talk about, is how do we take what's being done and talk about why it's being done and how it's being done. So, to start off, let's talk a little bit about rhetoric. So, rhetoric is always situational. It's never the same. It's always going to be changed. No one person is going to use the same rhetoric as someone else. So it's based on the situation. And based on that situation, you can determine a couple of key things: the persona, the audience, and the purpose. Now, the purpose, obviously, what are you trying to achieve? I mean, am I trying to get people to vote for me? Am I trying to get people to join in the fight for cancer? That's the purpose. Important, kind of obvious. The audience is next. Again, pretty minimal. Who are you talking to? And the persona. Now, the persona of these three is the most complex. It's what persona are you using? How you want to be perceived as an author or as a speaker? Do you want to be very majestic and humble and up on a high horse, or do you want to be humble? Do you want to be, perceived as a man of the people? And that is your persona. Presidents often will use persona and will always be changing depending on what they want to be seen as. So, the first thing we want to talk about is breaking it down. Whenever you get a speech, whenever you get, anything, and you're looking at the rhetoric, you have to break it down. Look at the purpose, look at the occasion, look at the subject, the text, the persona, the audience, the design. One of the best ways to go about doing this is to start with the introductions. The author's note, the excerpt, or, whatever it says in little italics, this is from yada 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 on such and such a date. Great. A lot of people dismiss it and they don't read it. There's your first mistake. You want to read it. It tells you so much because it'll tell you the context, and the context is really, really key. It'll also tell you who the author is addressing. Are they writing a memoir? Are they giving a speech at a political convention? Are they talking to troops overseas? Well, I don't know, and that's going to tell you, and that matters. And it can also, it's not going to come out and tell you their purpose or their goal, but it's going to give you a hint. Obviously, if it's a politician talking at a political convention, well, they want to get elected. If, you're talking at a fundraiser, well, you want to raise money. And that goes hand in hand with that introduction. If you understand what the author wants to do, you can easily see how it's done and talk about it. So the first thing is addressing that purpose again. So the poster pad, we talked a little about purpose. It's what the author is trying to do. What method is he trying to convey? Occasion and context. What external factors are going on that have an effect on what is being said, and where are you? Was there just a hurricane? Are you talking to the masses? Are you trying to be elected? Is it an election year? Where are you? Are you in New York City? Are you in the middle of a farm field? I don't know, but the occasion and the context matters because that's going to help you talk about the rhetoric and why they do it. Subject, pretty straightforward. The topic of the author's work. Text is as simple as it gets. It's the medium used. Is this a speech? Is it a memoir? What is it? Persona, again, we just talked about that. It's that perception. Perception is key with rhetoric. And audience, who's the author addressing? And last but not least is design. And this is the, the techniques. This is the rhetoric of it, is what are you doing? How are you getting your message across? What are you appealing to? What rhetoric are you using? So, for next class, take a look at Ronald Reagan's Special Challenger Address. I'll give you a little background on this. Back in the day, in the 80s, NASA sent up a space shuttle called Challenger, and it was in the middle of the air, and it just decided to blow up. Well, tragic, everybody was freaking out naturally, that's what they do. So President Reagan gave an address, and it is the Challenger Address. So go ahead and read that. And then at this Google Doc, it has, each one of the poster pads, and I want you to take a look at it and see what's the purpose, what's the occasion, what's the subject, what's the text, what's the persona, what's the audience, and what's the design. Now, obviously, we're just starting this, you're not going to get it right away, but just jot down, a quote or something that you think fits that, and then we're going to discuss it more next time. Until then, enjoy Ronald Reagan.